What's up, Real Life family? We are truly grateful to have the opportunity to worship with you today. We believe that just one encounter with God can transform your life, and today might be that day. We'd love for you to share this experience with others, and you can do that by simply clicking the share button or copy the link and send it to a friend. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay connected with your Real Life family. Well, it's about that time to get started. Thanks again for joining us.
Good morning. It's great to see everybody. Would you please help me welcome my friend Andy Mineo? He's right here. That's him. This guy, all the way from Atlanta. Welcome to Florida. Let's talk about your love for my state real quick, because you make fun of it. I mean, we're all here. Go ahead.
There's a reason there's a Florida Man Instagram page. That's all I'm gonna say. That's it.
That's all you're gonna say. Thank you. Okay, you moderated that.
You have a great state. You have no income tax. There's a lot of great things. You guys also eat alligators. That's all I'm saying.
That's fair. That's fair. I think it is changing a little bit because people like yourself from New York have come here. So the driving's gotten better. See? And they're not New Yorkers.
You guys Puerto Rican?
New York.
Yeah,
New Yorkers.
I knew it.
That's Liz, that's my friend.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Maduro population has grown tremendously. I know. I'm married to one. She's the best.
Well, let's talk about the fact that you're from Georgia and you make fun of Florida. Because do you ever sense
I'm not from Georgia.
Well, you live there
from
now,
New
though.
York.
Okay, but you live in Georgia. So
I live in
like,
Georgia because it was a smart financial decision.
But when you made the move to Georgia, I believe you relinquished the right to make fun of Florida. Does that make sense to everybody?
Maybe.
Okay, because we're right next to each other, and just because you're one state above, I just feel like it's a wash.
We're not the same.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about your journey as an artist. You're independent now, by the way. Congratulations. You're an independent artist.
Yeah. Thank you.
You got new music coming out.
Yeah.
He's got new, did you guys know he's like quietly, silently releasing new music? I never seen it done like this.
It's called a soft launch. It's like,
launch.
you know, when girls, they got a boyfriend, they soft launch on Instagram.
Okay.
You know, like maybe a picture of just the hands. You don't go full picture together.
We're easing
yet.
into it.
Yeah, you gotta get people used to the idea.
But talk to me a little bit about that, because some of your last stuff went viral. Like on Instagram, you're one of the most used videos in the 2021, 22.
Yeah.
The Kardashians are just using your stuff all the time, coming in hot. You guys ever heard coming in hot? You heard this, right? That's this guy. It's just platinum. It's no big deal. Platinum, and then you got You Can't Stop Me.
Yeah, I went platinum too.
Platinum. So multi-platinum artist, is that what we're calling you now?
Just Andy would be fine too if you want.
It's my friend Andy. Yeah. He's a multi-platinum artist. But okay, in this season, like for you, coming off some pretty big wins, but in a sense, kind of relaunching.
Yeah, that's right.
Talk to me about that.
When I launched my last album, Neverland 2, it was right after the pandemic. We went on tour, and then my record contract finished, and then I just was taking some time to restructure and figure out what I want to do for the next phase of my career. And so that took a little bit longer than we thought. I got a baby on the way, which is cool. I got my first on the way. And so now we're just like soft launching music. So as a way to kind of get back into releasing and getting people, refresh the Instagram, I guess you would say. Have an excuse to roll things out. We're just, I put up a project called For Promotional Use Only on YouTube, and it's loaded with a bunch of samples and things we probably could never clear. But it was a cool creative project to just kind of reintroduce myself. And so that's where I'm starting now.
Yeah, there's some good stuff on there. Has anybody hit that? Like, have you gone through Andy's page and found this new music? Anyone else?
A couple people, three people.
Thank you. A few of us have, yeah. Because it's pretty under the radar now.
Yep.
You know, we all heard this other stuff. I'm excited about the new stuff. And let's talk a little bit about the tension of, if you don't mind, because you've been a Christian artist. Mm-hmm. And I would say, this is my friend Andy, who's an artist, who's Christian. Mm-hmm. There's some tension there, right? Because you come up in the CCM world, you're coming up through churches and youth groups, and you're safe for the little ears, as we would say on Z88. But you're an artist who's Christian. You're trying to make art that speaks to the culture, and a lot of your story is going to be about God. Not every conversation of any Christian is always about God. Sometimes we talk about Panera Bread. And so do you find that there's a tension, though, or an expectation, like, of the church that everything you put out has to rhyme with a verse from the Bible?
Every verse has to be a verse? Yeah. I think that is the tension of being a Christian who makes art, or a Christian artist, whatever you want to call it, is that I think just the expectation of the listener, if you say something is Christian art, then there is unspoken expectations about what that should be. And I usually don't deliver, to be honest with you. Like, faith is integrated through my life and my music, but not every song am I thinking, like, how do I, what they call, like, JPMs, Jesus per minutes. I'm not trying to sneak those in.
JPMs, I've never heard that.
Yeah, not just trying to sneak them in just to be like, I want to meet the quota. I want to be authentic and real, and sometimes conversations or songs are about how I feel like I don't need anybody, because I grew up alone and, trying to figure out life by myself. Sometimes it's about my wedding day and how my dad didn't show up and how I feel about that, It's like, these aren't like explicitly Christian songs, but my faith kind of informs the way I see that, work through anger, hatred, forgiveness, all that, right? So, and then sometimes you'll have an explicitly Christian song on there. But I'm not, if you come to me thinking that you're gonna get that every single time, that doesn't usually happen. You'll usually get it in a body of work, which I think is a little more authentic to who I am as a person, like how I carry myself and have conversations with people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the whole Bible's filled with people who were people, and we get their stories and we get both sides or all sides of their story. Even the ones that are the heroes of the faith, we're often reading parts of their story. We're like, why is that in there? It's also a reminder of their humanity. And like, you're not just you're also not a pastor. You're an artist. And so I expect you to make excellent art as God has created you to. And I think a lot of that will lead back to Jesus. But by nature of the fact that you're a Christian, as people figure out who you are, they're gonna go, wait, why is this guy's a Christian? Because there are a lot of celebrities who are Christians, and they don't make, Denzel doesn't make exclusively Christian movies, but he's a believer,
In a lot of ways, he might depict the opposite of that, to play up a character, to tell a story. I think the one thing, though, that I'm trying to always do is never violate who I am as a Christian in the art that I make.
That's good.
So, I think it's actually funny. It's like some people will be a Christian and then make music that is completely against their beliefs, or what they claim. So I'm like, no, I'm not doing that either. I'm not trying to ever violate who I am as a Christian.
God first.
Just put God first, then you can say whatever you want in your song. No, yeah, so I'm not doing that either. I think that's been a line that I hold, is like, I'm gonna represent him even if it's implicit.
Yeah. One of the things I really respect about you, I'm gonna throw a picture up. Do you guys have a picture? This picture is from 2017 on the streets of New York as you were introducing me to Korean barbecue. It's fantastic, by the way.
It is
but that's great. That's like 8 years ago, man.
That's a long time ago.
That's a long time ago. But that guy still is this guy to me. This is what's incredible, because the journey that God's had you on, you've had a lot of success, and you've crossed over into a world where a lot of people have heard of you and know about you and may recognize you when you go places. But I haven't seen you change in ways that are concerning to me. Obviously, we're always growing and changing, but like, the trajectory for me has been really cool to watch how I see fame, I see notoriety, I see success, and then I see humility. And that's probably a weird thing to have somebody say about you, because if you take credit for it, then it violates. Like, yeah, thanks, I am pretty humble, Jay.
So true.
Glad you noticed.
Humble, yeah.
But there's so many examples of I'm like, he's just Andy. Like when I came over to the house that one time and you're like, come here for a second. I'm like, oh, cool, he's gonna show me his new CD he's working on, or whatever they call them now, the MP3s or the...
Stop.
And we went into the room and you handed me a chicken. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, we've been getting some fresh eggs from the backyard. We got chickens. Right. And I'm like, that's just not what you, like if I went to Drake's house, I don't feel like Drake's handed me a chicken. You know what I'm saying?
Show you a Ferrari. Yeah.
Exactly.
I show you the Ferrari of chickens. This one's a supreme layer.
That was a supreme layer. That was just the down-to-earthness, the proximity to people, the way you carry yourself. But I really appreciate that, because I think when we're trying to project Christ to the world, you're making art, but there's also your humanity that's going to speak in so many ways. And if we look at the values of Christ, who he is and how God decided to portray himself to the world, humility is one of the foremost virtues. And our success often competes with our humility. So how have you managed that tension? Can you speak to that a little bit?
I think so, yeah. Some of the stuff I was sharing before was like, this sounds really mean, but it's not meant to be. It's just the idea that like you're not special. And that is, like we are special as in this effect, like we are beloved by God and that we are uniquely made and like beautiful in his sight. And that is what makes us like very important. We are important, but we're not special. Special meaning like there's all of them and then there's me.
Better than,
yeah. Right. Because I think that is just a very like corrosive idea that takes a hold of our minds. As soon as you achieve something or make money or whatever, you can start to easily kind of create that like caste system that like there's them there, there's me. And I that is such a poison to like your soul. To believe that you're special, because I think what that does is starts to make you feel like you have privileges that other people don't, in a way like we talked about. I think this is like the idea, well, I'm successful, so I should have more than this person, or I should take a little bit more off the table because I deserve it. Or what I end up seeing in a lot of ways is like people are like, you know, I've worked hard, maybe I could have a second girlfriend. Or maybe a second wife. Like, I'm special, I've earned. It's like, no. Like, because you've had success in something doesn't mean that you now get to behave in a way that doesn't honor other people.
Entitlement.
Yeah, it's entitlement, and that's gross. It's just a bad, corrosive thing, I think, in general.
It starts as a seed, and it continues to grow, and so success can increase entitlement, but it doesn't have to.
That's right.
And
you got to keep people around you that are not always reminding you of that in a way. Like, if you have people that treat you normal and hang out with you and G-check you if you're acting out, that's a good thing to have. You know, and I think a lot of people don't want that because they want to fan the flame of some identity that they think they have. And the scary part about it is like we've seen this before. People that build their whole life on something, and then when it's taken away, they have no idea who they are. You know, an NBA player breaks his leg and he's like, I can't ball anymore. I don't know who I am. I think that's like it's something I keep in mind. Like in the trajectory of music, people are hot and then they're not. That's always been the case. And I'm like, there's a day where you're not hot, like, and nobody cares. And so I think if you protect your character, you don't have to like guard your reputation. You get, you know what I'm saying?
No, that's a bar. That's what you do. You just did one live here. That's a bar. You wrote a verse. You got to say it again so we know that it's coming from. But if you protect your character or guard your character so you don't have to protect your reputation, is that what you said?
Yeah. If you're concerned about who you are when nobody's looking, I think then you don't have to do public management perception, you know?
What people see, right. Yeah.
Right, because I think what it'll exude is good thing. And then when people try to dismantle your reputation publicly, people who know you are like, there's no way that's true. I know this person, you know? So you don't have to really pay attention to it. That's why when people talk crazy online, and they, you know, because when you don't know a story, you usually just make one up. Let's say crazy things. I'm like, there's no reason to defend myself because it's nonsense, you know?
I would jump in there. I would jump in there and be like, hey, this guy tried to take a main cabin flight to my church. And I was like, no, man, I can't let you do that. You're a multi-platinum artist. You're going Comfort Plus. Middle seat. Now, middle seat, because it's cheaper, but dude, when you sent me, he's like, I'll just get my flight right now. Is that cool? I'm like, yeah, sure, but I'm going to pay for it. He goes, oh, okay, well, dude, I'll just send you the flight. It was like main cabin. And I was like, but like, you're Andy Mineo. You got it. He's like, yeah, so I can fly main cabin. I'm really not that big. And I'm just like, no, but that was an interesting moment because it reveals a lot. Because people are working to get to the front of that plane, you know, and like you said, but the harder thing is if you've been to the front of the plane and now they're pushing you to the back, right? I can't get that. And so you're just saying, I might as well just hang in the back with the luggage and just be Andy. And then I never have to worry about it. But you did take Comfort Plus from me, and I appreciate that, man. How did that feel? That extra leg room, did you notice it?
Dude, that middle seat with 3 extra inches of leg room was amazing. I appreciate it. Thank you.
This guy has slept on an air mattress in my like my family room. And I was like, you want me to, he goes, oh, whatever. What do you got? Like an air mattress or something? I'm like, yeah, but like you're Andy Mineo. He's like, yeah, exactly. Where's the air mattress? I'm like, just that.
Well, you almost had me sleeping with a snake yesterday. This guy has a pet snake in his house.
There is my daughter.
Why? Why do you have the serpent, literally, in your home?
I think because greater is he that is in us. It's just a reminder of the power we have. We've crushed the head of that beast. He might bite our heel. Come on, somebody.
I was going to crush its head last night.
I'm not going to lie. That's a Florida man thing to do. And
that is a very Florida thing.
My daughter is Florida man.
Yeah, 100%. And it's got a little hamster, like wood chip smell to it. Kind of like a Petco. We got to get it out the room.
Get it out the room.
Get the snake out the room. He said, there's a snake in there. Is it okay that you get it out
He's
the
like,
room?
no, it's not okay. No,
it's not
nobody
okay.
wants to come to your house and sleep with snakes. Like, what kind of church is this?
Yeah.
It's normal for us.
Get your stuff together.
Hey, that was Eliana gave up her room for one of her favorite artists.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, but she left a snake in there.
Take it out. That's all I'm saying. I'm not like, there's no big request. Can I not sleep with a boa constrictor in the same room? Like, I didn't realize that was a request I had to make.
It wasn't on the rider.
Huh?
It wasn't on the rider.
It wasn't on the rider.
Your management team didn't tell us.
Yeah.
No, so to that end, we were moving a snake aquarium late last night, but I'm thankful for that, just that you're just the same guy, and you can show up in spaces and represent Christ, and it feels like there's no differentiation between like, oh, these people are, because you've been in some wild places lately, like some big tables, people that I don't have access to, and God's put you at that table. It hasn't changed the way you see yourself, but you've taken it as a mission. Like, well, whatever table I'm sitting at, this is an opportunity to share Christ, to be light, to be salt. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I kind of get invited places is because I'm not trying to be invited there typically. And so people would be like, you should come. You should come on this, trip.
You also seem like you're trying to not be invited back, but go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because you have snakes in the rooms that you sleep people. So outside of that, it's been great. Yeah, I've had the opportunity to be around a lot of like famous people and billionaires and stuff because they're interested in like the music or whatever, or something that you create. And I'm like, that's cool. And I think when I get in those spaces, what I'm just trying to think about is not like what can I get from these people, but what can I give them? And I'm hoping that I can give them some sort of like perspective on life or faith or things that are valuable, right? Because I don't know if there's a lot of people that do that for them. And it had like, I'm trying to decide if I should tell these stories or not. But like, It's
if you would name drop, that would be great. Like
that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I probably shouldn't. But like some of the world's biggest artists like DM me like, hey, let's work on some music. And I thought to myself, maybe I should just not jump into working on a song with this person. And maybe I should just like befriend them because they seem like they're going through a lot. I was like, yeah, we can get to music for sure. Like that'd be a cool thing to work on. But like, how are you? You all right? You know, trying to connect. And then eventually we never do the song. And I'm like, that would have helped my career a lot. You know, if we would have done the song. But I think that's the first thing I'm looking for. And then I'm like kind of trying to leave the results to God. Like, let him open the doors and let him. He's like, I did. You didn't do the song. But I've been just trying to find ways that I can add value to people's lives instead of always trying to take. And I think like Jesus is the thing that even after all these years of like following Jesus, trying to follow Jesus, being discouraged, the thing that I always keep coming back to about Jesus that like inspires me is that he is like the king of the upside down kingdom. And like in every movie, you know, like the best part of the movie is like that moment when everything switches and you're like, oh, I get it. Like it was totally going one way and it jerked the wheel the other, you know? Like,
yep, like the couple from high school end up getting back together and it's snowing and they met at the latte store. You don't watch Hallmark?
No.
Sorry, Jayla's got me on Hallmark right now, but go ahead. Yeah, I know that moment.
But it's those moments in films that like always get me excited. And Jesus is always doing that. Whenever I like read about him, he's like, whatever direction you thought he was gonna go, he goes the opposite. And it creates this interest, like he slapped him in the face, like what are you gonna do, punch him back? He's like, no, I'll give him the other cheek. You know, he's being crucified and what he's like, oh, he's gonna call down angels from heaven to smite everybody. He's like, no, let me pray for these people. It's like literally that, you know, that what would Jesus do band? I always think it's so funny because if you have it, it's literally the last thing you would do. Just like whatever somebody does to you, like, you know, they just try to dismantle me publicly. Like, what is the last thing I want to do right now? That's typically the thing.
The Jesus move,
right?
Yeah.
And I'm always like, man, he's like such a Jedi, like a mind Jedi in that way. That's always what attracts me to
so
Jesus.
he's at the height of his fame and his disciples are starting to ride the coattail of being associated with his fame. Let me get on that right hand and that left hand. We're going to take over the kingdoms. You know, we're going to be back on top.
Yeah.
Make Jerusalem great again. The whole deal. Like they're riding in there with him. They're like, yeah.
It's going to be so good. Jerusalem.
No, stop.
Sorry.
He does an incredible Donald Trump. It's amazing. Don't do it anymore. You could get... Okay.
He chose a donkey. I wouldn't have chose a donkey. Wouldn't have chose a donkey. Sorry. I will not do
Let's
that.
pray. Lord.
Yeah, for real.
It's actually an incredible impersonation. Like
Thank you.
You do a few, but that's one of your best. So let's
Moving on.
Okay, but like when you think of that, and that is an interesting example because in the world, it's this inflation of ego, drawing people to yourself, right? And that's what we see. And then with Jesus at the height of his fame, he's like, yeah, I came here to be a servant. Like the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve. And the greatest among you, while you're fighting for position at my right hand and left, the greatest thing you could hope to be in this life would be a servant. So set your mind on that and then you'll be right.
Yeah.
Because everybody else, the Gentiles lord it over people and that's not how we're gonna be.
Yeah.
You know, my kingdom, the upside down kingdom.
Yes. And that's not easy or sexy, really.
No.
You know, but you're right.
Okay, that's a good transition, but you're right.
Transition, you are right. There's nothing to say after that. It's just, it's true and it's a difficult truth to apply to your life because it makes you lower yourself.
Yeah.
And like, all I want to do is exalt myself all the time, you know, like, look how awesome I am on Instagram. Look at, you know, everyone wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to, you know, and it's a difficult thing, especially now when people think like the most valuable thing about you is how famous you are. Like in American culture, that is your currency, is how much fame you have. It's like an episode of Black Mirror. It's nuts. And it's not like who you are or what you offer as a part. It is how famous you are is the indicator of how valuable you are. And I think that's a super dangerous path for us to head down as a society, but unfortunately we're here.
Yeah, my Instagram following hasn't grown much this year, so you just made me feel a lot better.
So you keep posting snakes and hunting alligators. And
yeah, I'm growing a new base.
Yeah.
It's so true. We don't want to be known for our fame or how many people follow us, but in a sense that how well we're following Jesus. Like when you said it's not about taking, most people look at what can I gain from this relationship, this experience, what can I bring to it? Because the ultimate example of Jesus is the cross. That's what epitomizes our faith, is the cross. And the cross is an invitation to death, to die to those things that we most want. Yeah. Like you said, it'll be the opposite of what you're thinking and feeling. And so if whether it's fame and I have to deny that, or it's retaliation and I have to forego revenge and I have to treat someone with love and pray for my enemy. Yeah. That's the last thing I want to do. And what we're able to often do is justify our feelings and desires with some perversion of scripture. Well, Jesus flipped tables. Yeah, he did that once for a very specific purpose, but he also said, Father, forgive them on the cross. But I want to go into somebody's house and flip their tables, because that's what feels good to me right now, not what the Father's calling me to. For sure. Yeah. Should we pray now? Are you convicted? I'm just trying to bring you here. Now that you're an independent artist, I just want to make sure that you're still in the fold. Okay.
I am.
Okay, cool. Let's talk. You've got an interesting advantage of reaching people far from Christ because your music, right? You're out in culture. And there would be a lot of people that don't know you as a Christian artist. They know Coming In Hot. They know you're an artist. Yeah. They'd have to find out that you're Christian, maybe a little bit. Like, you know, you've got art that's out in the world. And then the people in the church know you as a Christian artist. Let's speak to those two different groups a little bit. Like right now where we're at, what would you say to somebody who is outside of the church, outside of Christ, but they're searching? And I know you're around a lot of those people. And what I'm seeing in this generation is they're looking and searching more than ever for something, but they've also kind of ruled Jesus out a little bit because he's lumped in with a lot of other things, like politics or the church itself as a business and things, religion and the wrongs done by religion over the years, right? So you're talking to one of those people. What are you saying to encourage them towards Christ?
Yeah. I think what I was saying before was like, I'm trying to typically not win somebody over with an argument or a conversation. I'm more so trying to invite them into an experience, because I think intellectually is one thing, but like when you experience something, your heart or your attitude towards something can change and I think that's how we operate in life. We don't just have intellectual experiences. We intellectual moments. We have experiences that change us, you know. And if someone had questions, I would try to answer them as best as I could. But I'd probably be like, "Come to men's prayer on Wednesday, hang out with me," you know, or like come over to the house and like kick it with me and my wife and some friends. And I think from that, actually, my boy Ray, he's here.
Ray's right there.
Right? Is he? Oh,
DJ Ray.
He told me this one time. I always thought it was so good. It was like, he goes, I was like, "How did you come to faith?" He's like, "I got invited to a baseball game from some pastors at my church, and they bought me a hot dog." And I was like,
"That's the best testimony I've ever heard."
I was like, "Was there relish on it?" You know, it was just like, what he was trying to say was like, it was an experience of feeling loved. And like, he met Christ through that type of love that was expressed through his followers. And I'm like, I think that's really powerful. And I think that's what I would try to invite someone into, is like to taste and see for themselves that the Lord is good, and not just like, here's why you're wrong and I'm right. My way's better. I just don't think that's effective. So yeah.
I like the other way better.
Yeah.
You're wrong. Okay, moving on. I grew up with a lot of that. You'd see, and it would be almost like the most Christian people are the ones with megaphones. The most spiritual people are the ones that are aren't afraid to yell at people for the gospel. And you're like, but to what effect? You're not actually building bridges. You're just screaming at people that they can't cross, you know? And who has ever like really felt in their, like, thank you for yelling at me in front of Walmart. That really blessed me.
Yeah.
As a single mom coming out with my kids and I couldn't pay for my groceries. But it was when you yelled at me that I knew you loved me. It's so weird. Like, you can't yell at people until you love them. That's when you can start yelling at them, right?
Yeah. And you need to a little bit.
And you need to a little bit, you know? That's marriage. Anyway, so, but the relationship and doing the work, I think there's this Christianity that infers this moral high ground, this moral superiority. But we didn't come to Christ through intellectual superiority. We came as ratchet sinners to the cross and we're saved. And so that we should always have that self-awareness, that we're covered by blood. That's the only way we're here. The experience isn't that I won because I figured it out and you didn't. And now my mission is to go back and scream at you. But to invite you to come and see, like you said, come and see. I met a guy and I once was this and I'm becoming this other thing.
Well, let me add to that real quick. There's like an example of something that I've been referencing this at times, is like, there's a certain level of patience that I think happens with time. Like, obviously the older you get, the more you know, like there's phases that people go through in their journey with God, right? And like, sometimes it's extremely zealous. Sometimes it's like depressed and I don't know if I believe. And like leaving room for people to have all of those things and try to be there throughout it is important, because you're taking a long view of like loving people, which isn't like the sexy, we had one moment at church and you came to the front and now like never have to talk to you again. My godson, he was 15 at the time, and he like fell in love with a girl. He's like telling me about it. He's like, oh my God, she's the best. Like, oh, I know. And I'm just thinking to myself, she's gonna break your heart. Yeah, like this is gonna end bad, right? Because they don't, at 15, that's what happens, right? But I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I don't think my job right now is to be like that dose of reality for him. Be like, yeah, well, listen here, bucko. You might be in love now until you show up at school and she's making out with some guy at the locker, right? It's like, don't do that. Why don't you just be excited with them at this moment? And so what I said to him was,
Yeah, where he's at in this part of the
And I
journey.
just said, dude, I'm so excited for you because being in love is awesome. Now I knew in the back of my mind, he's gonna crush this kid. But I didn't say that. I knew my job was to be excited with him and with him in it, so that he knows to trust me and that I love him. And when she does break his heart, which she eventually did, that I could be there to give him advice and love him through it. And just be like, I knew that was coming a year later, but it's okay. And like, it's all right to be in love, and it's all right to get your heart broken. I think my job as your godfather is to like, be there through all of it.
It's the chapters. We're all in different chapters in this story, and don't judge the book by the chapter you're walking in on, but be committed to that journey with them. I can kind of see you though, snapping on somebody, oh, so you're in love. Well, let Uncle Andy tell you how that's not gonna work out.
Yeah.
Next thing you know,
you're living in a van. All right. Down by the river, sorry. But I think that, there's this one lady, she says like, love learns how to play all the notes. And like wherever somebody is, you'd have to learn how to play that note at that time. Like learn how to love those people there.
It would be a great time for keyboards to start playing.
Oh, the get out of here keyboards. They're gonna start up at any moment. Wrap it up.
Love plays all the notes, Jonathan. These are just some of the notes that love plays.
Sorry, we were long-winded.
No, this is good. He's just cueing us. This is like the, you know how it happens, like at your house when you're talking with your wife and she's ready to transition to something else and the music comes on in the back.
Never had that, but I need to hire this guy.
Doesn't happen at your house. Yeah, Jonathan's over a lot.
Just at the dinner table.
We're moving into the dining room now. It's a transition.
I need that guy in my life. That'd be a great person to have.
He's a blessing.
Just at a meeting.
He's a blessing. Let's give it up for Jonathan.
Yeah, I would love to be on like a Zoom call that's going a little too long. Be like, Jonathan? I would love to hear more about how your weekend trip was, but the music's playing.
Unfortunately.
Time to go.
Let me just one final thought. Is there any advice you would give to us as the church, as Christians, in this season of cultural life? It's been crazy since COVID.
Yeah.
The world changed at least twice, in my opinion, since 2020. And now is just change is the new normal. It's the new constant.
Yeah.
And so we're always a little bit on our heels and not sure. And so sometimes we're running back to old plays and they're not working because we have a new world that's emerging. And so just the challenge that presents to the church. And sometimes people are thinking, the deconstructing. So does that mean my faith isn't valid because new things that I'm wrestling with? And I see a lot of people falling away and I see a lot of people afraid to share their faith. So just any advice you'd give in this season?
Yeah. It's a little sad in here. Try a major chord every once in a while, huh? Yeah. It's Sunday. So I've been thinking a lot about this, right? Because I think I've been in probably a season of like, you come to faith and then you can get very disheartened because you might have bad experiences with Christians or, what do they call that? Like American Christianity combo, Christian nationalism, all different kind of things can happen that can create discomfort or distrust. And like, I think I've been in such like a long season of deconstruction that I almost got to a place where I was like, and by the way, deconstruction is like the criticism of what you believed. And sometimes criticism of what you believe is good because it helps you get to new realizations and you weed out some stuff that shouldn't be there, right? But I think if you stay in that critical phase for too long, you become cynical. And then like nothing's good, everything is dumb and nothing matters. But while I was working through this, I was talking to a friend of mine. His name's Abe Cho. He's a pastor up at Redeemer. And we talked about how like culture has been changing. And when you look at movies, you can see a parallel to how movies right now are similar to where we've moved as a culture. So for example, he said, there's the modern, the postmodern, and the meta-modern. And he's like, and the modern movie was the very satisfying movie, the Top Gun. There's a guy, he sets out to do a thing. He sees a challenge, he overcomes it. He gets the girl and he rides off in the sunset. Satisfying.
Right into the danger zone.
Yeah, sorry. You should have had that riff ready. And I think, and that would be similar to like how you share the gospel in the modern era was like, you could stand on a street corner and speak and people would be like, I should listen to this guy, right? Like that doesn't work now, but it worked in the 40s maybe, right? And then he talks about the postmodern in films, which is like kind of the same beginning storyline where you're setting out in a direction. There's a guy, there's a challenge. He's trying to overcome it, but he sees opposition. And then you find out he was really the bad guy the whole time, right? Like the whole story switches. You're like, oh my God, the bad guy was the good guy. The good guy was the bad guy. Nothing makes sense. And that is like the postmodern approach to telling stories. And that is what we've seen also in Christianity in some ways. You're like, I thought this was a great guy, this pastor. You come to find out he's running a sex ring. You know what I mean? And you can get so critical and cynical from that.
And just hurt, yeah.
And hurt.
And then I don't want to get hurt again.
Right, you get hurt. I don't want to get hurt again. I'm going to stay away. And in the postmodern way of making movies, it's very, there's like a movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is really about, this is a movie, and I know you know that I'm making a movie, and I know that you know that I know we're making a movie. And it's very self-aware. And
metacognitive.
It's metacognitive, right? It's like nothing matters. It's kind of silly in a way because it's like nothing matters, but in that maybe everything matters. And I know I'm probably sound like a moron right now. It's rambling these things off. But there's something here. It's like, how do you speak to people right now and share faith when there has been so much cynicism and so much hurt, and kind of people feel like nothing matters because it's all nonsense? And I think like the way the church could respond right now is with sincerity and self-awareness. And self-awareness to say like, if people are hurting, I know why you're hurting because I'm self-aware. There's been some messed up stuff that's happened, and we need to own some of that, You may have, I may have been arrogant when I should have been kind and gentle and humble. I apologize. The self-awareness brings you into that like humility. And then sincerity really helps because when everything is a meme, when nothing is sacred, when everything is funny and needs to be made fun of, sincerity is that one thing that like people will experience that can cut through. It's like, yeah, I know that there's a lot of hurt, and I know there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't follow Jesus, but still Christ is risen, and I think he can change your life, and he changed mine. Like that level of self-awareness that says I get it, but also still I think he's worth it, is like a coupling that I think will be really beneficial moving forward, trying to share faith and inspire people to follow Christ.
Those are solid. Self-awareness. Yeah, I said this a long time ago. You brought it back, but like that God is a sucker for a self-aware sinner. Remember when I realized, because I was trying to grab a hold of why he would let me be a pastor. I'm like, there's just something about God has this sweet spot for when all of us who are like sheep and go astray, but realize it. And we go, wait, I think in that story, I'm the bad guy that actually needs saved. I'm not the good guy that is constantly justifying his own behavior and is always right and everybody else is the bad guy. I think I'm the bad guy, and I think there is a good guy, and it's none of us. And that's where the cynicism is. It's like, yeah, it's none of us, and it was never any of this. The government isn't saving us. The department of whatever isn't saving us, right? All these organizations and things we believed in and we thought were sacred, and now we're growing up in a generation where we're going, they've just all lied to us about a lot of things for a long time. So you lose this sense of, so then it's nothing. And it's like, no, there's still Jesus. There's still Jesus. There's still this God in the flesh story that doesn't make sense, this king of this upside down kingdom that's worth coming to. And he'll meet you right where you are. And he's not like what you've experienced. And he's not even like the people that use his name. He just is that guy. And maybe come and see. And I think that's the best we can do is invite people to come and see this guy. Because like of all the things I've experienced and done, and I've been let down by a lot of things, I will still promote Jesus. I'll still point people to Jesus. He's the same yesterday, today, forever. Hasn't failed me, hasn't let me down, hasn't done the things that I thought he would, when and how I thought he'd do them. But I see what he has been up to and how my life's been changed. And like, I'm clinging to that hem of that garment and I'm not letting it go. Yeah. And I see his grace, the self-awareness reminds me that I need it. And then I see that I'm getting it. And I think that's sincerity. When people realize, you sincerely don't just believe this, you're experiencing this and you want to share that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think beauty is a cynicism killer. And like when you encounter beauty, it's like, I'm a pretty cynical person. Like I think I see through a lot of stuff. There's never been a time I stand at the foot of a mountain, because I feel like I experience God a lot through nature. I never stand at the foot of a mountain like, whatever, right? I'm like, oh my God. Like, or I look up at the stars, I'm like, wow. I'm like in awe. And that kills my cynicism when I experience beauty. And I think if people have experiences with us and sincere people who love God and live a life worth sharing, like they'll experience beauty, and that can melt away some of their cynicism or distrust. And you build new relationships with people to point them to something greater than you. I think that would be if I had to give any thoughts on how maybe we should move. That's just how I'm choosing to move. I can't really tell nobody else, but I think that's the direction I want to go.
Thanks, man. Hey, would you guys just give my man a hand? Andy, thank you for sharing. Thank you for who you are. And I'm just going to pray for us. God, thank you today for this testimony. Thank you for the way you've used Andy to cross barriers and to do things that a lot of us will never get the chance to do, but actually just doing the same thing that we're all called and able to do, and that is shine your light and reflect your love. And thank you for the way he's challenged me personally and all of us really to do that out of self-awareness and sincerity. Lord, just lead us right back to the cross and help us to serve this world, to not be here to take from it, but to give to it, to lay down our lives like you did. And I pray that you'll bless Andy, that he'll continue to do things that are above and beyond what he would have imagined, and that you'd use him to change lives. Bless his wife and this new baby coming, Lord. And I just pray that this family grows in faith and legacy with your blessing, Lord. We love you in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys for being here. Give it up for Andy one more time.
Hey, thank you so much for being with us today on Real Life Online. We hope this video encouraged you. As a valued member of the Real Life family, we want you to know that we're here for you. If you need prayer or you want to explore any of the resources mentioned, you can find everything at real.life/connect. And if you would like to stay up to date with what God is doing here at Real Life and want to get updates when we go live, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find links to our website and other Real Life resources available for you in the description area below. Hey, thanks so much for sharing part of your day with us. That wraps up our time together. As you go throughout your week, do it knowing that God loves you. We care about you, and never ever forget that God is crazy about you. We look forward to seeing you again soon.